Okay, so I've got my stuff all set up here, but what we're going to be making today is the Harvest Table Runner. Let's see if I can move this out of the way for just a second. And so you can see that it's long, and I've gone ahead and done the decorative embellishment on the handle. And I have this laid out with my 45-inch space dyed on the bottom, and I found my middle mark, and I have marked it with pencil. But I will tell you this: they're hard to see with the dynamic color of that space dyed wreath. So we may have to shift around a little bit, but that's okay. And then my smoked that are also the same length are on top of my handle, and they have also been marked on the rough side. When you get the material wet, you can feel it, and there'll be a rough side and a smooth side. You want to make your marks in pencil on the rough side. You want the rough side facing you, because this is going to be the inside of the basket. Okay, so I'm just going to do some minor adjusting here before I start, and I'm going to weave on the sides of both of these. I'm going to do my left side first, just because, why not? Now the thing that I need to do when I start here is I need to make sure that I'm weaving over the smokestacks and under the space dyed, over the smoked and under the space dyed. Okay. And I'm going to do this for, I think it's 11 rows of weaving on each side. So I'm just going to get started here and show you what I'm doing. And then I won't bore you through the whole process. I'll update you as I go. How's that? So this is just the base that we're weaving up, and you want it relatively tight. There's nothing tricksy about this basket. It's just pretty straight up, over and under. Not a big deal. The only thing is that you need to start, or when you weave, you need to make sure, at least on this first row, that you're over the stake. So I'm looking for my halfway mark here, and my halfway mark 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is going to be right here. So I want that halfway mark to be under number 7, right? And I'm going to bring that up now. It's not going to go in real tight right now. And then I'm going to just keep weaving these guys up and making sure that I am keeping my stakes the width of the handle as I do this. And it is kind of sloppy right now, but let me do about 3 rows and then we'll talk again. Okay, so you can see I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in, and I'm going to do 11 on this side. What I want to show you is, just a reminder, you do soak the stakes, horizontal and vertical, before you weave them. But here's the deal with that. When you do that, water's glue in a basket, so it makes it harder to get things tighter. So I wanted to weave a little bit and show you what I do. So I've already got these wet, and I've already marked them, right? So if I feel like they are getting too dry, then I'll go ahead and spray them. One thing I will tell you too about using space dyed reed, the colors are very vibrant, as you can tell. I'm going to find that halfway mark here as I'm gabbing, and I'm going to bring this up. One of the things that I do to get that good and tight is I'll lift these guys up and push. Okay. The other thing I'm concerned with is that these stay level. I have a tendency to kind of flare out while I'm weaving. So I'll go make sure that I've tucked these in, so I don't want them any farther out than that handle. Okay. Wet, I was talking about, I forgot what. I'll probably remember it in a minute. So I'm just gonna keep going so I can show you how I weave this up. Once I get one side done, you'll see I got a spoke weight holding this. At this point I probably don't need that, but when you first start off, you need a book or a spoke weight or something, or the spokes will go all over the place and you'll think, oh, why did I want to do this? Oh, I know what I was going to tell you. So, big color, right? Big color, because it has such vibrancy and all these different hues, can have a tendency to bleed when you first get it wet. So, what I do before I start weaving, after I get them wet, and they don't need to sit in there and soak for eternity, you know, warm water, get them wet, take them out of there, is I'll go through and with an old dish rag, I will wipe each one of these down. Just quick wipe it through there. And that helps a lot with getting some of that excess dye off there. Okay, so let's see, I'm just cruising along here. One of the things that you might want to do, this is like, how technical do you want to get? But you can see that I'm looking at these colors. So if I really wanted to take the time, I could look at these colors and say, oh, okay, well, I don't want all that green next to each other. I want a green and a red. Not that it makes a big difference because it's on the base, but it's something to think about as we get to the point where we're weaving the sides, because they'll show more. Okay. All right, so now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I got 3 more. So at any rate, you can see what the color looks like, how this is getting laid out. I'm going to finish off this side, and then I'll come over and do this side. Okay, so I know I said that we were going to twine. We're not going to twine yet. We're going to make chicken feet. So what we need for chicken feet is a weave right tool and a pair of scissors. So what I want to do is I want to make sure that the smoked weavers are wet. And I'm going to bend these over, and I want to tuck them into that second row of weaving, so you can see that I really probably didn't need those that long. I'm going to open that up, tuck that underneath. Okay. And on this one then, making sure that it's good and wet before I bend it over, I'm going to do the same thing. Now, you can cut them so that they don't show, or you can make them longer. That is totally up to you. I'll show you the difference in both. Probably I would bring this back and trim it. So the rest of them will do that way. But bottom line is they just need to be on, move this over so you got some more light, under that second row of weaving. So if you're going to make a second one of this, probably your brown or your smoked steaks do not need to be that long. Because what, I've cut off like 10 inches, and I'll do the same thing on the other side. So I'm going to do this on both sides of the basket. Making sure those are down nice and tight. Okay, I'll do one more here, and then I'll do the other side, and then we will talk about doing that twine. Okay, put this last one in here. Chicken feet. And what chicken feet do is it enables you to have space to weave on the short side of your basket. Okay, you got all sorts of space here, but on the short sides you don't unless you do chicken feet. Okay? Alright, so there's one side done with my feet, and I'm going to come over here and do the other side, and then we are going to twine. Alright, so now I'm twining. I'm going to twine once around the base, And twining, what I did is I took a long piece and I just looped it over one of the stakes. Now, I want to show you two things when you're twining. First of all, you've always have two stakes coming at you. I am right-handed. I weave clockwise. So that means when I'm taking the stroke, I always take the one that's farthest away from the direction I'm going. So that would be the one all the way to the left. I put it in front of one and behind one. Okay? Pretty simple stuff, right? When I'm coming around to the corner, sometimes that's confusing. So I'm still got one on top of one and behind one. The only thing that's changed is my direction. Okay? Now, if you need a visual change, shift it around. I don't need a visual change, so I'm going to keep it here on the table. But that's how you do it. So the other thing I want to show you is what happens if you run out of weaver. How do you add on to a twined weaver? Well, I'll show you. I don't know if this is going to make it all the way around. Here's another corner. Once again, I'm still going over one and under one. Okay? And then I'm going to move that base around so I don't have to move. And you see I'm treating that handle just like it would be a stake and including that in the twine as well. On this, so we've got one stroke on each one. Okay, and then I'm going to take this guy, use my Weave Right tool, open that up just a little bit. Another good reason to start with a loop. Pull that down, same thing here on the next stake, and then I'll trim these guys up. Okay, so there's my woven base. Now it's time to upset. So I'm going to start upsetting my base. I've sprayed it, but I'm going to spray it again. And what I want to do is I want these right next to that baseline. So you'll hear a little crunch, that's fine. A little crunch is good. What we don't want to hear is a bust. And if you get these wet and, wait a minute or so, then you want the crunch. The crunch is good. We don't want to bust. And if you wet them, they won't do that. But it doesn't hurt to wet them again. Okay, give them a little bit of time, see they're a little bit more supple. We want that crease. And like I say, it's okay to get a little crunch. A little crunch is fine. We don't want it to bust. So, I've got this side done. I'm going to come over here and do the other side. We're starting to give it some memory until it, seriously, we want you to come up. Okay? I'll do the next side and we'll start weaving. In getting prep for this, I have upset my stakes, and what I've done is on the corners, I have clipped these guys. I have some standby clips because when I'm doing the first 2 or 3 rows, I need them to hold them down. And the first 3 rows that we're going to do, I've got my stuff soaking here, is some smoked reed. And smoked reed is marvelous, but it doesn't necessarily look real good. So, but that is the nature of smoked reed. So what I like to do is I like to use gravity to help me out here. And I want to make sure that when I weave this, my first row is on the outside of that. So I'm just going to come back like 4. And, sorry, 5. When I start my weaver, I always want to make sure that it is on the outside of a stake. And I'll show you why as we come around. So, the table is helping me out here. You want this tight on the sides. So just even if you pull like a little bit, we're talking like 1/8 of an inch, not much. The thing you don't want to do is turn on or pull on a corner. And right now I'm going to leave those right there with that clip on it. Does it make it more difficult? Yes, it does. Okay, so one of the things I'm going to do is I'm going to clip each side of this. Normally I'd only clip one, but because this is a longer table runner, I am gonna clip that to keep that tension tight while I work around here. So I'll put 2 on the long sides and 1 on the short side, just to build this around a little bit. And since I got the camera there, I won't put that up on edge, but I might do that if I was just weaving here by myself. So if you're gonna make an error, it usually happens on a corner. So, you know, when you're doing this, be careful and watch on your corners to make sure you're still over and under. I don't know what there is about corners, but those things tend to happen. Okay, so now I'm going to put a clip on that short side just to kind of hold my tension as I'm coming around here. And remember, I said I'm going to put a clip, a couple clips on the long side as well. And I'm using the weight of the basket and the table to kind of help me with my shape at this point. So just over and under. And when I come to that, I'm gonna like hold this out and then pull a little bit. All right, so that tightens it up, but it doesn't. What happens a lot in basketry is you think, oh, I want this tight. So I'm gonna pull it and then that sucks it in. So if you're gonna do any kind of pulling, anchor it here before you pull, okay? So I know I'm on because I'm on top of that handle. Life is good, okay? I'm gonna grab me another clip and come around. Little clips are a good thing at this particular venture. They're only temporary, but they sure do help. Okay, so here I go, over and under it. And I'm going to make sure this is tight, and then I'm going to put a clip on it to kind of hold that tension for me. Okay. I'm going to keep those clips, you know, for like the first 3 rows, I keep those clips on those corners, and it just makes a tremendous amount of difference. Right now it'll be like, what? That's kind of a pain. And you're right, it is kind of a pain. The other thing I do when I'm coming on the corners is I give a little bit of a squeeze. What I'm doing there is I'm giving it some memory so that it knows, don't be slipping around. Really? I want you to be about right there. Okay? So, and if this is difficult for you, you can always unclip it and clip it back. That's fine as well, whatever works for you. So here I come. I'm coming around on my first row. And remember, I started this guy on top of, right? This is why you always, 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 always start on top. Mistake here. Because when you come back around and it's on, so it'll be like right on top of it, you're going to count 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then you're going to make your cut. Okay? And the reason for this is because this now covers up the beginning. You don't see it. And this now covers up the end. And when I trim that up, it won't show either. So, and the first row is kind of sloppy. That's just kind of the nature of the beast. It firms up as you go. So I'm going to trim that up just a little bit, and I'm going to put one of these. Now, when you're weaving, you always want to stagger your starts, and you can tell that that ain't going to make it all the way around. But I'm going to weave with this just because I want to show you how to best use all your weavers. Now, your weavers, for the most part, should all be the length around, but you can better use your weavers by using parts of them if you don't have enough. How's that? It's just something good to know. So I'm going to start, I started over here before, so I'm going to start on top of this guy here. next time I start a weaver, I'll go on the other side and go on one of the long sides, just so I'm staggering them. Okay, so here I go. And I know that that is not going to be long enough, right? Come around to the short side, and I'm checking to make sure that I'm good here, and lay it flat, give it a little bit of a squeeze. I'm building some memory in there. I'm gonna move that guy out of the way for a minute. Make sure I'm liking what I'm seeing. Like I say, if I tug it a little bit, there's nothing wrong with doing that, but if you tug it to make sure you got it where you want it, then hold it. So that tightens this up without bringing that in, and that's what you're trying to do. Here's my other corner. Okay, I'm going to give it a little squeeze. And we're coming around here. Get this guy out of the way for a minute. And I can see that, oops, I don't have enough weaver, right? I knew that starting out, but just so I can show you this. Okay, I don't have enough weaver. I'm gonna end it. And this probably isn't a real good place to end it because of this handle, so I'm gonna back it up. I'm gonna say, oh, I don't have enough weaver. I'm gonna trim it off on top of a stake, okay? And then, I'm gonna treat it just like it was the end of an entire row, right? So I'm gonna come back 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm gonna start that there, and then I'll cover up that ending and keep going. And that is a way to better utilize your material. Doesn't make any difference, you know, it doesn't make a less strong basket. Basically, it doesn't do anything except help you use your material better. I got this really long one. But, and we're going to use this smoked reed for about, I think, 3 rows. So, those are the 2 things I wanted to show you. And I am going to weave this 3rd row just because when you get 3 rows in, life starts getting a little better in the basketry department. So, I'm going to bring him over there. Coming around on my corner again. And I'm going to give it a little memory. And I'm going to take that off and go around it, and then I'm going to clip that back. So I can reinforce. Seriously, we're going that way. It's okay to take, you know, to work on your shape when it's wet. Okay, so if I'm telling it, seriously, I don't want you flaring out that much, you can push that in and then it'll snap back. You over exaggerate where you want it because it's going to come back. If I want it right here, and I keep pushing it right there, it's not going to stay. But if I tell it, seriously, come down here, it'll snap back up to there. Okay? Only when it's wet, not when it's dry. So if you are doing some shaping, and shaping is definitely something that happens, it's subtle, and it's something that you need to be aware of at the beginning of the basket, because if you are weaving along thinking life is good, but you know the shape's kind of funky, but it'll all come out in the wash, it ain't gonna come out in the wash. It starts at the beginning cycle when the water's filling up. So if you don't like something on your basket, my point in being, don't wait and think it'll get better. It won't. Fix it now. Even if that means taking out a couple rows and looking at it. If you don't like how the beginning's starting, you won't like how the ending is. Sort of like a good book. Maybe. Anyways, you can tell I'm rambling as I weave. Okay. And this particular part of the weaver isn't real wet. sticking out of the bucket, so I'm going to spray that a little bit. Once again, I'm looking to make sure that this is tight without pulling in my corner. So I'll hold that and pull. All these little nuances of the weave. And then I'm coming around here to the end, and remember I want to count to 4. I know that I'm on because I'm right on top of that guy. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm going to trim him here, and I'll use this weaver again for my 3rd row. Okay, so I'm looking at, I showed you the cool little tricksy about adding on if your weaver is too short. I am looking to see if my shape looks good. I forgot to add a clip over on the side for right now. And like I say, usually after about 3 rows, you don't need all these clipsy doodles. But starting out, it sure does make a big difference in getting the shape that you want.